I had reposted something from this therapist, like a little infographic. Let me find it. I believe it was from Robin Clark. It's loading. I thought I saved it. I guess I didn't. I think I screenshotted it maybe, but yeah, love Robin Clark. I thought she was a therapist. I thought she was a therapist. Not me being shocked. It says coach, so whatever. But she has really good infographics and just like very relatable stuff about, just a lot of the things that we go through specifically as like women. But I would recommend following. This is the stuff I'm talking about when I say like you really can curate your own Instagram experience. Like, oh my God, I just feel so bad about my life every time I go on Instagram. It's like, are you following like the therapists, babe, or following the life coaches with like good advice? Because I have a great experience when I go on IG. Sometimes a dumbass will piss me off, but it's like anyway, so I will link her account down below, but I had reposted this and someone had asked me to talk about it in a podcast. So I'm just going to read over this and we're going to discuss. So this is signs that you're stuck in good girl. The security you get from being liked is so essential that you'll self-abandon to keep folks happy with you. You don't often know what you really want or need. You just want people to be pleased with you. Being agreeable, nice, pleasing, cute, and focused on other people is your default social setting. Very me. Like, oh my God, that bitch. Setting boundaries feels like you're cutting off a part of yourself, not doing something self-affirming. Conflict or folks being mad at you feels like the ground is falling out from under your feet. You assert yourself, but only to the point that everyone still feels comfortable with you. Raise your fucking hand if you feel personally attacked by this post, because I know I do. And like, this has just always been such a struggle for me. Like, I'm sure if you've met me, like, I feel like anyone who meets me, like, I remember getting, reports in class growing up. Like, this has just always been my life. Like, oh, you're so nice. You're so agreeable. You're just so easy to be around. And, like, that can be a good thing in a lot of ways. But, when you're nice and, like, agreeable to those around you at the expense of your own comfort or your own boundaries or just your own self, that's a fucking problem. And it's just so ingrained in so many women to default to this. We're supposed to be like cute and like nice, and we're supposed to put others first, and like, oh, I don't want to cause conflict. I don't want to be a bitch. I don't want to be bossy. I don't want to be what about their feelings? And again, like, it's not a bad thing to think of other people's feelings or to like not want to hurt someone, but it gets to be a problem when that's just always what you're doing, and you're not sticking up for yourself because, oh, what will they think? I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to cause conflict. Conflict makes me uncomfortable, etc. And like, I just want y'all to know, I'm sharing this and whatnot. I love every sound. I have come a long way in this journey, this like people pleasing journey, this like good girl journey, whatever. But I'm not like, oh yeah, I assert myself so perfectly in every situation and I'm never scared of conflict now. No, like, it's still definitely a struggle for me. I've come a long way. I'm a lot better at it than I used to be even just a few years ago, but it's not like I'm like perfect. So I'm sharing this to like, I know a lot of us deal with this, so we're all in this together, bitch. Like, let's be in our self-love bags. Let's be in our let's cause conflict bags, Like, it's like a process. So just so y'all know, like, I'm not like, this is like, yeah, I've learned a lot. Yeah, I can do a lot better now, but like, anyway. So for me, what really stuck out from this post was like, you often don't know what you really want or need. You just want people to be pleased with you. I have this specific memory of like, I was with this guy. I think this was when I like first moved to LA, and he was like, oh, like, where do you want to eat or something? And I was like, oh, I don't care. Like, and I just remember specifically saying something like, I just like don't really like making decisions. Like, I'd rather someone else choose. And I just remember being so uncomfortable with like having to make the decision. And I know like that's like a classic example, like, oh, girls don't know what they want to eat. But it was just like it was just like more than that, you know, at the time, like that moment. Like there's probably been other times where I didn't know what I wanted to eat, but I literally just like didn't know. Like that was just a specific example of like, oh, like what if I choose the wrong place and they're not happy with it? Or like, oh, like I would just rather they make the decision and I can just go along with it, you know, like and I just always think of that. And especially reading this, like I just, oh my God, like I just thought of that like so hard. Being agreeable, nice, pleasing, cute, and focused on other people is your default social setting. Bro, like I know some of y'all are really good, you know, I don't know, if a man's being creepy to you in public or something, like some of y'all are really good at asserting yourselves. And it's like, I mean, sometimes it's like we don't know necessarily the situation, so I feel like we just like, or like, you know, when it's just like your default to be polite, even though someone's being like creepy to you or an asshole to you or just like downright rude and disrespectful to you, it's like you still just want to be like polite. It's like, oh, I don't want to like rock the boat. It's like they're literally, are they thinking about your feelings and how you're being affected by how they're acting towards you? No. So why do I care? And that's not to say like, oh, you dumb bitch, like why are you being polite? It's like, it's just that like it's so ingrained in us. It's not necessarily our fault, but like, you know. Also, the one that said setting boundaries feels like you're cutting off a part of yourself instead of doing something self-affirming. So telling someone, no, I can't do that, I can't make it, I won't be able to do that for you. Even like, I don't know, like telling a guy, like, I'm not comfortable with that. You know, it can feel just like so uncomfortable and gross and like, ew, like it would be so much easier. It would feel so much easier to just go along with this or to say yes or to go out of my way for this person when I don't really actually want to. And I read another post. I don't know if it was from the same IG account. I know it was on IG though. But it was something like, you know, how about instead, I feel like they referred to that feeling as almost like a hangover or something, like the hangover of like setting a boundary when you're just kind of like, ew, uncomfortable and just like, like I hope I didn't make them mad. Like, it's just such like an feeling. It was like, how about instead we recognize that as like a good feeling of like, okay, we did something good for ourselves. Like when I feel that, it's like, I know I stood up for myself instead of like worrying about how the other person might take it or like if they're mad at me or whatever. So let me know if you relate to any of that. But then, of course, y'all know I had to go, I had to go and look this up and find some articles. Oh, this is another post by Robin Clark, though. Women who overfunction like crazy, and then there's just a paragraph, you know, doing everything, wearing all the hats, stretched thin, operating in survival mode, living beyond your like emotional capacity, doing more than of your share of, you know, household labor, being everyone's support person, always saying yes, etc. You're doing exactly what our patriarchal society taught us to do. You know, and it's crazy how ingrained everything is. Like, it's crazy that like me being uncomfortable setting a boundary with this person relates to like this structure of society. Like, you know, it's like once you kind of become aware of everything, it's like you just realize like, oh, that's why. But also like I've always said this, and again, like this is just like I'm still learning. Like it's not like I have all the answers. It's just like once you, it's like disclaimer. But once you like realize something like that, like, oh, this is just like, or not this is just, but like this is a result of our patriarchal society. This is like how I've been socialized to act, and like, you know, I feel bad about it because it's like I assumedly supposed to like be able to do all these things. It's like, oh, it's not like it's a personal failure of mine or like to not be able to do all this stuff or like always say yes to everyone. It's like part of a systemic structure, a systemic issue. And then it's like, oh, it kind of like takes some of the pressure off. I know, at least for me. Or same with like capitalism, you know, like, oh my God, like, why can't I do, like, I feel bad that I'm not productive all the time. Like, it seems like everyone else is able to do everything And then it's like, oh, well, that's just like capitalism. And then it's like, we're supposed to always be on the grind and always be looking for the next side hustle and always, making money. Then it's like, okay, that's not like real. Like that's like what we've been taught. So it's like, okay, it's not a personal failure. It's just like this. And that doesn't mean it's not going to affect us, but it's like when you're able to like know, it's like, oh, this is how I've been socialized. It's not like just like, why am I a failure? It's like, oh, okay. Well, at least. So I found this article from Psychology Today. We love a good Psychology Today article. 5 ways to stop being the good girl and start getting stronger.